Hi, in this audio series, I will discuss about one of the least discussed items of any motivational book or speech, and that is failure. It is very funny that everyone in this world only wants success and they don't want to see failure or even hear about it. They are so obsessed with success and dream about success that they completely ignore to understand what failure really is. And finally, when they encounter failure in their endeavors, they simply panic. They start cursing everyone and everything that they think might have contributed to this failure. They start the blame game, but in this process they don't even think for a minute what new opportunities has this failure brought to them. The reason why we see this behavior in some people is due to a complete lack of understanding of failure. They haven't understood properly the role of failure in life. Part of the cause for our lack of understanding of failure is society, the environment we have grown up in. Our society had made us to think right from the beginning that success is a good happening and failure is a bad happening. So the notion or idea that to fail at something is bad has been ingrained in our brains right from the start. In my opinion, just as a success in any endeavor presents you with opportunities to move ahead towards your ultimate goal, failure too presents you with the same number of options to do things differently and still proceed towards your ultimate goal. Success and failure are just two names attached to the outcomes of any endeavor. If the outcome of an endeavor matches with our expectations, then we term it as a success. While on the flip side, if it doesn't meet our expectations, then we call it as a failure. So it is just a matter of perception about the outcomes of any endeavor. Let us take a popular scenario to understand this topic more. Everyone is familiar with two people, Bill Gates, the CEO of Microsoft, and Steve Jobs, the CEO of Apple. They were both college dropouts, yet they both reached to great heights in their individual lives. Imagine for a moment that you were Steve Jobs' friend in the 1970s when he first discussed his idea of dropping out of college. What would be your natural reaction when he first said that he's going to drop out of college? You may ask Steve as to why he is dropping out of college and perhaps explain to him how difficult it is to earn a living without a college degree. So his dropping out of college at that time, at that instant, seemed to you like a failure. But if you come back to the present and let's say you're still friends with Steve Jobs, and would you say today to him that his life had been a failure? Not at all, right? He followed his gut feeling and today he is very successful and we have a great company called Apple. Let me give you another example. Consider a hypothetical character named John. Let's say John is preparing for a competitive exam like the GMAT and he is aspiring to gain admission into a prestigious school like Harvard. John has been preparing for the test for the past 6 months and he has been diligently working towards the test and he aspires to get a higher score. He has sacrificed his social life, family life, his weekends are completely filled up with practicing for the test. And John one day takes the real test and he scores 700 points over a total possible score of 800. And when John looks at the score, he gets very depressed and he starts to get worried about that he may not gain admission into Harvard with a score of 700. Then for the next few days, he gets demotivated and starts blaming all things that went wrong. If John's ultimate goal for life, what I mean to say by ultimate goal of life is that one thing that one want to accomplish before he dies. That is what I call as ultimate goal. If John's ultimate goal in life was to only gain admission to Harvard, then I would have recommended him to take the test as many times as possible and gain admission into Harvard. But John has a long-term goal of becoming an entrepreneur. So he doesn't want to die after gaining a business degree from Harvard. He wants to make use of that knowledge and start his own company. So when John scored a 700 on the GMAT test, which is of course lower than what he expected, instead of brooding over why he got a lower score and getting demotivated, John should apply to the next best schools and then move on to work towards his ultimate goal, which is to start his own company. See, the world has shown us with many examples that in order to become a CEO or entrepreneur, you don't need to have a business degree from Harvard. Take the case of Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. But one may argue that when a person works for a goal, he may get obsessed with that, and then when he doesn't get the expected outcome, he feels sad. This is absolutely true. If you have listened to my How to Motivate Yourself audio series, where I suggest that when a person wants to achieve a goal, he should live, eat, sleep with that goal in mind. In order to answer your question, I will use another hypothetical example and a character named Bob. Bob is commander in charge of an army fighting a war in a region, and he devises strategies to defeat his enemy. He devises many strategies involving several different maneuvers by his soldiers. Let's say during the war in a particular zone, his strategy doesn't work as well. His strategy fails to give the result that he intended it to give, and some of his soldiers get killed. Looking at how his strategy has failed, Bob cannot sit back and brood over why his strategy failed and start blaming things. Instead, he should devise a newer strategy and try to win the war. Here the ultimate goal is to win the war, not just to win a battle and lose the main war. Similarly, in this game of life, it is important to win the war, and we cannot simply sit back and ponder why we lost a few battles. You get the point, right? This competitive example can be extended to many situations or scenarios of life. Whether you are working for a promotion at your office, starting a new business, or any other endeavor. Don't be afraid to fail, and failure is just another set of opportunities. Bring back your knowledge of elementary number theory, where you learn that when you multiply two positive numbers, you get a positive result. When you multiply a negative and a positive number, you get a negative outcome. And when you multiply two negative numbers, you get a positive number. Considering a positive number as a success and a negative number as a failure, you can achieve success with by multiplying two negative numbers, or failures too. Only you have to make sure that you have the right combination of negative numbers. So, if you fail or you don't get the desired outcome in any endeavor, it is still fine. You can make up for it in any other way, or in some other way. I would like to conclude this series with this last quote. Protect your ultimate goal or long-term goal and work towards it without worrying too much about the outcomes of your short-term goal. Stay tuned for more to come. Until then, stay motivated, work hard, work towards your goal. Thank you.